Chahte Hu, everybody. Welcome today, this Monday, a bright new week. So excited and honored to have one of my friends here today, Dr. Sheila Kilbane. And we talked about she is she does all of these amazing things, but specifically, she has a book coming out. So Dr. Sheila एक pediatrician है और वो बच्चों को देखती है. Or Dr. Sheila takes care of little kids and really get to the underlying root cause. So Dr. Sheila क्या करती है is that जो अगर आपके बच्चों को बीमारी एक हो, बंदा सोचता है ये क्यों बीमारी है. So ये जो Dr. Sheila अमेरिका में है और वो she gets to the root cause and tries to figure out why your child is dealing with a chronic health condition. If your child has eczema, what is the reason they have eczema? If they have digestive issues, what are the reasons? And really trying to get and using a whole system approach to help improve an overall child's well-being. So अगर आपके बच्चों के पास eczema हो, फिर वो दिखाते हैं that क्यों eczema है, या अगर पेट की बीमारी है, वो कहते हैं क्यों पेट की बीमारी है. So इसलिए मैंने आपको आज लेके आना था डॉक्टर शीला के बारे में. इसकी एक नया किताब लिखी हुई है. And Dr. Sheila, your new book is called
Healthy Kids, Happy Moms, and it's 7 steps to heal and prevent common childhood illnesses.
Wow. So सात बीमारियों का जड़ क्या हो सकता है, ये किताब है. Yay, Dr. Sheila. Yay, thank you. So, Dr. Sheila, we are getting sicker and sicker. हमारे बच्चे और बीमार हो रहे हैं. So, one, why do you think that kids are like chronic diseases and kids are on a rise? So, हमारे बच्चे क्यों बीमार हो रहे हैं? And I would love to hear for your perspective as a pediatrician, as a बच्चों का doctor, as a pediatrician. I would love to hear your expertise, opinion of why our kids are getting so sick.
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you for what you're doing and spreading this. And she is always just so joyful. And I will always remember for your listeners that when I met her, we were at a conference together and she had the best, she just was brimming with all of this joy. So I so appreciate what you're doing and how you're educating families. And you also are getting to the root of things. And I think what's happening is that we are exposing ourselves to things that are unnatural, and we're eating food that isn't really food. It's a lot in packages, and it creates inflammation in the body. And do you want me to give a short snippet, or should I keep going?
Yeah, and then I can translate it.
Yeah.
So ये जो जैसे मामा भी बोलती है, वो वरम अंदर से हो जाता है, और वो जो वरम हो जाता है, the inflammation जो उसको बोलते हैं, could be due to like जो हम खाना खा रहे हैं and the bad food that we're eating, वो गलत हम खा रहे हैं, stress can lead to that. What else, Dr. Kilbane?
Yes. So we put a lot more herbicides and pesticides on the foods that we eat.
Yeah.
And we put creams and we wash our hair and put lotions, and they have chemicals as well.
Absolutely. So जो हम अपने आप पे लगाते हैं, वो सारा chemical होता है. So they all that can lead to problems. हमको बीमारी करता है जो हम chemicals we spray outside the chemicals, and the spray जो हम अपने आप पे लगाते हैं ना, वो सारी बीमारियां करता है. So it leads to disease.
And so we're putting a lot more pressure on our bodies than we did 100 years ago, or even 50 or 60 years ago. It's ideally we're eating, food that's grown in the earth, that God has made. If it's, grows on a tree or comes from the earth, that's ideally what we're going to be eating. Mm-hmm. And it's a little bit more work to prepare the food at home, but it's going to be so much more nourishing for our body. And it's more that, a lot of Maria and I were talking on the last time we were online talking about how food that's prepared with love. So that is, I would even rather you eat food that is maybe not quite as healthy, but if it's prepared at home, ideally we have both, but we have to do what we can with our busy lives that we lead now.
Absolutely. So हमको क्या करना चाहिए और खाना पीना we should eat with lots of love. And right now I think we're in like a go, go, go mentality and mindset, right? And so
Yes.
how is food then? And we're just going to keep this really basic for everybody then. How is the food that our children eat? Because a lot of times what happens is that, moms, I mean, I'm a busy mom. It's easier just to, your kid doesn't want to eat the fruits and the vegetables, right? But your
Yep.
kid wants to eat, chips or Lays or whatever it is, or cookies or cakes. How does that lead to sicknesses in children?
So the way that I lay it out, most people know the term inflammation, and it's, puffiness. We think of it if you twist your ankle or, you jam your finger, you get this puffy, swollen joint, right? And it takes a while for that inflammation to go down. And what inflammation is it's white blood cells we have an excess of white blood cells going to a certain area. And with a sprained ankle, we need those white blood cells to that area to help repair the damage that was done. But if we have a lot of inflammation in our body, that ankle is going to stay really swollen for a long time. And so we want to keep our overall inflammation to a minimum so that when we need our immune system to work, for example, if we get a cold, we get exposed to a virus, whatever the virus is, the flu, coronavirus, that we don't have a lot of this extra white blood cells floating around, and our immune system is going to work optimally, as best, as effectively and efficiently as it can to help our body deal with whatever infection is coming along.
Absolutely. So let me go ahead and translate some of that. So दो types of inflammation होते हैं. Inflammation जो बन जाएगा body off balance हो, और फिर क्या होता है, वो वरम होता है. So it's like this inflammation, it's like a heat that comes up. Usually आपको वो सूजन नजर आता है. पर क्या होता है, ये जो inflammation होता है is that ये immune system it helps, the inflammation is used by the immune system to either, fix itself from injuries or, get rid of infections. And so we need our immune system, right, and the inflammation as low as possible, because जब ये वरम बड़ा ज़्यादा से होता जाता है, फिर क्या होता है, फिर बीमारियां बढ़ती हैं. And so this inflammation then because you talk about these 7 conditions. So what 7 conditions do you talk about specifically in your new book?
Yeah, so it's those common childhood illnesses, right? And it's colic and reflux and eczema and recurrent ear and sinus infections and constipation. Sometimes it might be loose stools, belly pain, chronic runny nose, which can be allergies, and asthma. So that's more than 7 right there. But we talk about those main one. Those are all the big list of all of those common illnesses that kids get on a recurrent basis.
And these are all of them have, for our viewers, all of these have inflammation, are linked to inflammation?
Correct. So it's the kids, and for those moms who are listening, exactly what I'm talking about, right? Your child may have eczema, but they may also have a chronic runny nose, and they may also be constipated. And you may go into the doctor and get a steroid cream for the eczema. You might get a nasal spray for the runny nose and a laxative for the constipation. They're all related. I always say we don't have fences in our body. So if we have inflammation, one place in the body is inflammation everywhere. So all of those are related. And when we start to uncover that inflammation, we start to decrease all of them so that we decrease inflammation internally so that we're not having to continue to do it externally. And Madiha and I, we agree on this, is we love integrative medicine because it's the best of both worlds. We use regular medicine when needed. Absolutely. So we don't go stopping everything, but we use a combination of food, supplements when needed, and stress reduction. But that's, healthy foods. And when you understand that foods can contribute to this inflammation, that's how food plays a role in our health.
Wow. So let me go ahead and translate some of that.
Yeah.
So जब आप डॉक्टर के पास जाते हो, ये सारी बीमारियां जो eczema जो बच्चों को खारिश होती है, then we have is allergies, digestive issues, ADHD जो बच्चा का दिमाग सही तरह से काम नहीं करता या वो हाइपर हुआ होता है. So ये सारी जो चीजें हैं, जो सारी बीमारियां हैं बच्चों की, ये है इन्फ्लेमेशन, इसका जड़ है. और अगर हम ये जब आप डॉक्टर के पास जाते हो, अगर एक्जिमा हो वो स्टेरॉइड्स देते हैं, राइट? सो हमारा क्या दिल है इज दैट हम एक दफा नहीं सारे दवाइयां नहीं छोड़ देते, पर हम क्या करते हैं इज दैट हमको पहले रूट काज देखने के बाद we try to lower the internal inflammation, just like Dr. Sheila said. हम अंदर से बरम खत्म करने की कोशिश करते हैं और फिर वो बाहर कभी आहिस्ता आहिस्ता आ जाता है. So, sorry, you guys, my Urdu is not the best. My Mama Jan is, she's busy right now, but she's the one that does the most of the translation, but I'm doing the best I can. But so basically, if you are able to lower the overall inflammation, you can start seeing those externally, right? In like, or even symptoms wise. So the digestive symptoms improve, allergies, I would love to hear some stories on one, how you were able, like some stories in your own practice.
Yes.
And, because it's like stories I feel like people really relate to.
Yes.
And how they were able to just diet and lifestyles made a difference.
Absolutely. So one of the, and I'll show you how I show it in the book of like the cup of inflammation.
Ooh, so pretty.
So we break it down, and yours should be, hopefully you'll be getting your copy soon. We put it in the mail on Saturday. So there are 5 main triggers of inflammation. And it's, first of all, we have our genetics, right? And then it's the way that our genes interact with our food, our environmental allergies, environmental toxins, infectious diseases, and stress. And so we'll mainly focus on food for right now. And so this was a patient, he came to me, he was about 4 or 5, and his mother, he had recurrent wheezing and chronic cough, and his nose was all congested. He had some trouble sleeping. And when he was a baby, he had a lot of colic and reflux. And so and what happened is with these wheezing episodes, he needed to take an oral steroid at one point in time because the wheezing was pretty significant, and he went bonkers, right? So he was running all over the place, and the steroids really impacted his behavior. So his mom said, I need to figure out a different way. And so she came to see me, as I was practicing integrative medicine, doing primary care at that time. Do you want to just translate?
Yeah. So एक बच्चा आया था इसके पास, 4 साल का बच्चा, और ये जो बच्चा था ना उसके allergies, right? Severe allergies,
nasal congestion, runny nose,
उनका नाक बह रहा था, nasal congestion by allergies थे,
wheezing,
and then wheezing, वो asthma की तरह उसको सांस सही तरह से नहीं आ रहा था,
and he breathing out of his mouth, where he was like,
yeah, मुंह से फिर वो हवा ले रहा था, उसको नाक बेसिकली बंद ही था, सब मुंह से ले रहा था आवाज, वो हवा. और ये सारे डॉक्टरों के पास जाके उन्होंने सिर्फ दवाइयां दी हैं, और वो जो दवाइयां दी हैं वो स्टेरॉइड्स दी हैं, और जो स्टेरॉइड्स दी थी ना वो उस बच्चे को दिमाग से तरह से वो हाइपर हो गया था. So he was going all over the place, he was very hyper, and then so this child obviously was on these medications. So what did you do differently that other doctors didn't?
Yeah, so when we hear in integrative medicine, we hear a child who had a lot of the feeding really fussy and colicky as a baby, if they've got a lot of nasal congestion, and he also had the big dark circles under his eyes. I knew that part of his inflammation was from dairy, which is a food that we think of as being very healthy. And for some people, it can be helpful. But what we knew for him is that we needed to take that out of his diet to help bring down some of this inflammation.
Okay, wow, that's key. Because so let me just translate that. So ये बच्चा के साथ वो कहाँ से डॉक्टर शीला ने कहाँ से शुरू किया है, वो उनके खाने पीने पे, उनके खुराक पे. एंड सो उनके खाने पीने पे पहली चीज डॉक्टर शीला ने खत्म किया है वो दूध, डेयरी. दूध खत्म करने so by decreasing milk, what did you see in his symptoms?
So we decreased milk, and we decreased one other thing. So he had a dust mite allergy.
Wow.
So dust mites, they live in our pillows. No matter how clean we are, we get them in our mattresses, in our pillow, on our blankets. And he was sleeping on a very, very old mattress that had been his uncle's.
Wow.
So we got rid of the mattress and we took out dairy. And 3 weeks later, when they came back to see me, his nose was clear, his dark circles had improved. He was breathing more easily through his nose.
Wow, just by these two main changes?
Yes, yes.
Wow, so डॉक्टर शीला ने बोला है that अब दूध खत्म कर दें. इस बच्चे को दूध खत्म कर दिया था. फिर इस बच्चे को भी देखा था डस्ट का भी मसला था. सो जब डस्ट का मसला था, फिर डॉक्टर शीला ने कहा ये जो मैट्रेस है ना, इसको नया चेंज करने के लिए डस्ट और सफाई करो. और थोड़े हफ्तों में माशाल्लाह उसने like all of his uses, all of his congestion symptoms had improved because we lowered the overall inflammation, right? Those are his inflammatory triggers.
Exactly. So, and it wasn't, in his case, it was pretty clear cut, right? We can, in integrative medicine, we know how to follow those threads of inflammation to the primary sources. And when we can do that, it's not always super difficult. Making the food changes can be a little bit more difficult, and having to buy a new mattress, that's another expense, right? But it saved them. They weren't into the office all the time. And the other thing about him is he was a setup to develop asthma into, and have asthma into adulthood. But he did not. He, to this day, he's a teenager now, but he maybe uses his inhaler once a year when he gets a cold. But it's not.
Really?
So that's one of the beauties of really looking at this as early on as we can with the kids.
Wow. So we talked about food as one of what are the other triggers you notice with all these other chronic health conditions? What are the other triggers you notice?
Yeah. So a lot of times we will look at those environmental pieces. So we always have to keep in mind the environmental allergies. And I talk about that so much because, like, for him with the mattress, we could have done the dairy. We would not have had as a profound improvement if we hadn't looked at that other piece of the puzzle. And again, when kids but the food plays such a big role, because say your child has an allergy to trees or grasses, we can't dig up all the grass or cut down all the trees. So if we look to food and we decrease the junk food, which creates inflammation, and we take out dairy, we take that cup of inflammation. I think about inflammation like a cup of water, right? And when it's overflowing, that's when we have runny nose and constipation or loose stools, things like that. And so we shift the nutrition so that when those environmental allergies come into season, we don't have maybe that cup only goes to a half or 3/4 full, and we don't have all of those symptoms.
Wow. So what are the other things that will start to fill that cup?
So in terms of environmental toxins, that's when we want to be careful. We want to make sure that we don't have those harsh herbicides and pesticides in our garage that we're spraying around the bushes and the homes. So that's one thing. And then we want to be careful. Mold The kind of mold that grows in a water damaged building can be very inflaming and make people quite sick. So you want to be careful if you have basements or crawl spaces. You don't want any kind of moisture or standing water. You want to take a look in your bathrooms, make sure you don't have any water marks, between the wall and the ceiling or the wall and the floor. And you don't want to have any musty smells at home. So be very careful with, where moisture can collect.
Oh, absolutely.
And you
yeah. So जब बच्चा एक बीमार होता है, क्या होता है is that जो कप होता है वो बार बार ये जो खराब वाली चीजें ये भरना, ये जो कप है ना, ये इसको भरना शुरू कर देता है. So this cup gets filled with all of these toxins. Or क्या होता है is like अब ये toxins कहाँ से, mold, ये जो pesticides हैं, सारी चीजें खाने पीने का, ये सारी चीजें start to fill this cup. और जब तक वो कप वो ओवरफ्लो ना हो जाए, फिर जो बीमारी होती है वो फिर बीमारी के नजर आता है. So क्या करना चाहिए is that we have to lower this cup toxic load by checking out, making sure that we don't have mold, making sure what you said about the pesticides, and making sure you have a healthy diet, right?
Yes, yep. So we want to do foods that are as clean as possible, so that don't have herbs and pesticides and things on them.
Yeah, eat real food.
Yes, yep. And the fourth category are infectious diseases, which, those are going to create inflammation. That's just what they do. And we need a certain amount of inflammation to help our immune system work properly. Like if you cut your finger, you need some inflammation to go to that area to stop the inflammation. But if we have all of this excess inflammation, when we get exposed to, let's just say the flu virus, we are going to have all of this extra inflammation. And that's going to make it a lot harder for our own immune system to deal with the virus.
Absolutely. So what kind of infectious diseases do you normally see in children that we should look out for?
Yeah, so there's just the common cold virus, right? And when your child's immune system is working optimally, they may get sick for a couple of days with a cold, but they're not going to be down for the count for 2 weeks at a time. And there's another one called hand, foot, and mouth disease, which kids get a lot of, and they get ulcers in the back of the throat, and it's pretty painful to swallow, and they'll get pustules on their hands and their feet. They can get another one called slap cheek syndrome, where their cheeks get all red and they get a fever. And it's okay. Kids can get sick. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with their immune system. We just like them to be able to get better on their own, if at all possible. Recurrent ear infections are another. Those
really?
Often start with a virus, but then it can turn into a bacterial infection. But if we have a minimum inflammation, then we have a little tube that goes between our middle ear and the back of our nose and throat. And if we've got minimal inflammation, that tube will be able to drain more effectively and efficiently so that the body can take care of the ear infection, potentially without an antibiotic.
Wow. Awesome. So, these are things that, we think are just part of normal childhood, right?
Right.
Just like we're like earaches. Oh, it's okay. Allergies. Oh, it's okay. All of these things. But now you're still telling us that even some of these like chronic infections, our environment, stressors, food, toxins, all of these can actually, fill that cup that is leading to symptoms as small as, an ear infection.
Yes. Yep. And it's that when you understand this concept, it really helps to put everything into perspective, because we know that everything is related. And I'm looking at the chat box, and one of the women, Sana is saying, Dr. Mindia, my daughter is very weak. She has asthma, and it affects on her studies. And I have so many families come in who think the child's immune system is weak. And I like to be very cognizant of the words that we use, because the words can be very powerful, as we all know. And I always want families to say, we're working to optimize the immune system. Your child is very strong. When we give the child's body what it needs, the right food, good water, good hydration, good rest, we help to support that immune system. And that's where, with asthma, we know that that's an inflammatory condition. And so these are the kind of the tips that we would give for a child with asthma.
Awesome. So Sana, Dr. Kilbane बोल रही है that आपकी बच्ची मजबूत है, वो weak कोई नहीं है. So बच्चा क्या करना चाहिए is that ये जो सारी चीजें हम आज बोल रहे हैं ना, ये सारे implement करें, look for the root cause, because आपकी बच्ची we can improve your asthma, and you can make her to optimize her immune. When we optimize her immune system, we can improve her symptoms. So I hope that has helped. And then you have, so we talked about food. So हमने कहा था like the trigger, your 5 triggers of inflammation, and 5 things that trigger inflammation जो वरम है, वो है खाना पीना, food, environmental allergens, inside and outdoors, right? Like mold, dust, yeah. And then environmental toxins like mold toxins, heavy metals. And then you talked about like viruses and bacteria and fungi, just infectious diseases. What is the 5th thing that can trigger inflammation?
Yeah, the 5th is stress.
Oh, I think we're all dealing with that today. Well, seriously, big stress. Who doesn't have stress? And especially, unfortunately, I think our kids are starting to get more stressed than ever before.
Absolutely. And stress can be emotional and it can be physical. You can have, you might have scoliosis, like a curved spine, or maybe you have a broken wrist or something like that. So it can be physical. And the thing though with the emotional stress is it shifts the way that our body works. So let's just say maybe you have, like maybe one of your kids is struggling, maybe they have asthma or they have a health issue. And so you're worrying about it and you're up at night and you're looking for answers and solutions. Well, our body doesn't know if this is really happening or if we're just thinking about it. And so our body goes into fight or flight. And this is the same thing that happens with kids. And then our respiratory rate increases, so we start breathing faster. Our heart rate increases, and our blood moves away from the front part of our brain where we think and make decisions to our more primitive brain where we increase our heart rate and respiratory rate. And then it also shunts away from our gut where we digest our food to our arms and our legs so that we can run away from, the threat that's out there. We always say the lion in the forest. Mm-hmm. And so we literally will not be able to think straight and we won't be able to digest our food properly. So we could be on perfect food and perfect supplements, but if we're chronically in that stress state, we aren't going to see those really nice improvements with our health that we could potentially see.
Wow. So अगर बच्चा stressed हो, right? If he's वो बीमारियों को cause कर सकता है. वो जो वरम होता है ना, वो ज़्यादा हो जाता है. So that it actually adds to the inflammation and starts to fill these are all things that continue to fill that cup, right?
Yes.
Increased stress. So फिर बीमारियों पे की शक्ल नजर आ जाता है. So now that we talked about those factors of inflammation, let's figure out, okay, how are we going to get to the underlying root cause? Like, how can we really start to implement these in our sick child or just prevent disease? Where do you usually start?
Yes. So always start with food.
Okay.
And
we start with food.
Absolutely. Same place that you start. And in my book, that's also why I wrote the book, because we have the first 10 chapters, it's all about the science and the why. And then the second part, it's almost like 3 books in one. The first part of the section is the why. The second section are the exact steps to take. And then the third are the recipes. But so section 2, we always start, I call it the mini cleanse for kids. Mm-hmm. And I love that because it's not scary at all. We do simple things. We change one thing a day. And the first thing I would have you do is just to decrease the sugar drinks that the kids are drinking. Mm-hmm. So sodas, sport drinks, juice, like a cup of juice has about the same amount of sugar as a cup of soda. And sugar.
Wait, say that again?
Yeah. So a cup of juice.
Wow. Right. Do people like fruit juice, any type of fruit juice?
Exactly. You think apple juice, orange juice, whatever kind of juice. It's almost the same amount of sugar that's in a cup of soda.
Wow. Everybody hearing that? So jo bache hum soch rahe the, like a lot of people think, oh, we have to give our kids, they're running around. It's better to give them sugary drinks to feed that energy. But actually that's feeding the sickness, isn't it?
Yes.
So, bachon ko, we have to stop with feeding our children sugary drinks or even juice, because what she says is about the same type of sugar. So we got to get rid of that. Okay, next.
Correct. Second thing, and the thing of, so if you eat an orange versus drinking a glass of orange juice, the sugar in the orange is attached to fiber. So it slowly gets released into our bloodstream when we eat an orange, or if you put it in a blender and blend it up. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you drink the cup of juice, it's just a big flood of sugar into the system. And we know that sugar suppresses the immune system, can suppress the immune system for up to 5 hours.
You know, the amount up to 5 hours.
Mm-hmm. So first thing you can do, and it's like just taking a boot off of the, you know, if you think about a big boot holding down the immune system, we just take the boot off, and that starts to let the immune system work more optimally.
So then what are, besides for water, if a child doesn't drink water, what would you suggest?
I would strongly encourage you to get them to drink water. And I would do little things, is I would squirt a little bit of lemon in it. I would even take that orange juice, if they don't love the plain water, take a tablespoon of the orange juice and mix it in the water that way. So you give them a taste. Or you can also get, if they love fizzy, like this is how I help kids wean off of soda, is we have you get the bubbly water, right? That mineral water. Mm-hmm. And we will, pour some of that and then do the same thing, either squeeze lemon or orange or lime, or take a tablespoon of their favorite juice and put it in there. And then they get the fuzziness without all of that sugar. And they start to feel better. And they will start to ask you for these things once their body starts to shift.
Nice. Okay. So then what is the next thing that we should get kids to do?
And next thing are artificial dyes and colors. So this is an interesting fact. So since 2010 in England, they required food labels to have a warning label. If they had artificial colors, they had to have a warning label that it could impact kids' behavior. And, that was a long time ago. And so we still don't have anything like that in this country. Mm-hmm. And it can impact the health of our gut. I've had kids that they do certain colors and they flap their hands or they sniff their fingers. And it's, we need more research in this area, but we don't need to be none of us need to be eating those artificial colors.
Wow. So Dr. Sheila bol rahi hai is that in order to lower the inflammation, आपके बच्चों को सेहत वापस आने के लिए, सेहत देने के लिए, पहले क्या करना है, खाने पीने से शुरू करना है. So खाने पीने से जब शुरू करना है, फिर आप ये जो चीनी वाली drinks है ना, जो fruit juice भी हो, we gotta get rid of those, the fruit drink, the sugar drinks. The next thing जो हमने करना था is to remove artificial dyes, because काफी चीजों पे coloring होती है. जब हम इंग्रेडिएंट्स पढ़ते हैं ना, वो जब आपको समझ नहीं आती ना, वो कलर रेड नंबर 40 or blue whatever, or yellow number 3 or whatever it is, wherever country you're in, they have artificial colors and dyes. एंड डॉक्टर शीला बोल रही है ये दिमाग को भी अफेक्ट करता है, बच्चे फ्लैप करना शुरू कर देते हैं, वो ये बच्चों का दिमाग सही तरह से काम नहीं शुरू करता, उनका जिस्म और से बीमार होता जाता है. सो बेहतर है बंदा ये सारे आर्टिफिशियल डाइज और कलर्स खत्म कर दे. Awesome. And then the next.
So the next one, what we want to do then is we want to start putting the things in that we want them to eat. So we want to take out the packaged foods, and then we want to add like a fruit or a vegetable in place of that, or nuts, seeds, things like that. And shall I keep going?
Yeah.
Okay. Then processed meats. So if your family eats meat, then we don't want to be doing those processed hot dogs, those deli meats, those, and eating out at fast food restaurants, and those meats, as well as the processed fat. So every time we're getting, say, French fries or things that are fried, those are fried in inflammatory fats, and those are what contribute to all of this inflammation. So even if you make some of those foods, but you make them at home, you can make them in better oils and better fats. So that's how we're going to really start to make these big changes of decreasing that inflammation.
Awesome. So ये जो बाहर का खाना सारा जो मैं और मामा बोलते हैं, ये जो बाहर का खाना सारा निकाल दो, बिकॉज ये जो बीमारियां फैलती है ना, और जो इम्यून सिस्टम है वो कम होता जाता है और वो सही तरह से काम नहीं करता जब हम पैकेट चीजें खाएं. सो जब बाहर से जाके तेल भी है, लाइक द ऑयल इज नॉट इट्स इन्फ्लेमेटरी, वो वर्म को ज्यादा करता है. जो तेल, वो तो साफ तेल तो नहीं इस्तेमाल करते ना, वो तो खराब तेल इस्तेमाल करते हैं. सो क्या करना चाहिए आपको? असली खाना खाना चाहिए. So if you wanted to eat like even stuff that you just do it at home, right?
Yes.
And it's like, if you want French fries, make them at home. Cleaner oils. So you can easily make those replacement options. I know that's what I do in my own house, is that I don't ever deprive my children really of anything. I just find healthier alternatives, and I find ways to do it at home with real ingredients. So I love that. I love that tip. What are the tips you got for us?
Well, so the one thing I love for families to do is, one thing that you can do tomorrow or today is to shift breakfast. And if the kids are eating cereal and milk for breakfast, can we swap it out and do a green smoothie? And then maybe a piece of whole grain toast with nut butter or something like that, so that we take, because sugar, and especially if you're doing a sugar cereal, that has a lot of sugar. And then you add milk in it, and milk also, when we go back to the sugar, the lactose in milk is a sugar. So a cup of milk has about half as much sugar as a cup of soda. So there's still, when you put these comparisons together, and if you can do a green smoothie, so you put some lettuce or kale or spinach, and just put a little bit of it as you're getting started, and then put a lot of fruit. Berries would be great. A lot of fruit, maybe a little bit of a banana, and then you put some water in it, and you can blend it up, and the banana will give it some of that creaminess, and you'll have a nice sweet thing that for them to have, and you get all of those nutrients. And then you can have that, like I said, like a piece of toast with nut butter, or maybe some eggs if your kids tolerate eggs. And that way it's a really great meal that is going to last in the kids' system until lunchtime, and they won't have to be snacking all the time.
So these cereals, all this, like the cereals, what about all like the sweetened cereals and the pastries and the donuts? We got to swap out all those breakfast items.
Yes, exactly. Wow. And it's all of these things, because marketing, these food companies spend millions of dollars on their marketing. And that's why we all think that those are healthy, is they're telling us that they're healthy, and that's what we should be feeding kids. But kids don't need, kids can eat the same things that we're eating.
Wow. So जो बच्चों को हम सीरियल देते हैं, जो हम ये डोनट्स देते हैं, जो हम ये सारी चीजें देते हैं ना, ये सारी निकाल के ना आप स्वैप आउट फॉर हेल्थियर ऑप्शंस, जो अच्छे वाले बेहतर वाली चीजें हैं। और वो बेहतर वाली चीजें कौन सी हैं? आप स्मूदी बनाना शुरू कर दें। स्मूदी में थोड़ा सा आप स्पिनच डाल दें, केल डाल दें। अगर आहिस्ता आहिस्ता पहले बेसिकली फ्रूट के साथ बना लें, फिर ओके आहिस्ता आहिस्ता फ्रूट को थोड़ा सा कम करके आप फिर केल, स्पिनच ऐसे की चीजें, अंडे वगैरह दे सकते हो, ऐसे करके, nuts, seeds, olives. I mean, there's lots of different options we can do for breakfast besides for just the plain. That's awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Then where can parents really go to get answers for their children after they've even implemented these? Like, where else would you help parents guide? Because I mean, starting off with diet, we talked about that. Now where are we gonna go?
Yeah. So if you're just looking for healthy tips and things like that, then I would keep you go to, Dr. Madia's website, and you can go to my website, and you've got she's got several books out. You can you can get my book, and because this information is, as odd as this sounds, when I trained, and I'm sure when you trained for medical school, we did not learn about nutrition, which is, most people, when I tell them that, they just can't even comprehend it. But we don't. We learn the basics. We learn that, what happens if you have a severe deficiency of vitamin C or vitamin D, things like that. And so we've done a lot of extra studying. So the information that we talk about with food might be a little bit different than the way that your conventionally trained pediatrician talks about it. And, I'm a board certified pediatrician, which is the beauty of integrative medicine, right? I have both the training of both backgrounds. So you want to look for a functional medicine or an integrative medicine doctor. And like on my website, I have a little link where you can go. If you go to functionalmedicine.com, you can find a link in your state or your zip code to find a doctor in your area. And then the same thing with the integrative medicine. You can go to the University of Arizona Integrative Medical site and, to find a doctor in your area. Because it's different. It's different. You won't get these things in medical school. We don't study about nutrition. We don't study about supplements either.
We don't. So I'll just translate that. जो मैंने मेडिकल स्कूल अमेरिका में या पाकिस्तान में, हमको न्यूट्रिशन नहीं सिखाई जाती, सो इसलिए ये सारी चीजें हमको खुद फिर सीखना पड़ता था। डॉक्टर शीला और मैंने, डॉक्टर शीला बच्चों की स्पेशलिस्ट है और मैं सबकी, मैं जीपी की तरह हूँ। और सो हमने एक क्लास नहीं उन्होंने दिया फूड और न्यूट्रिशन के ऊपर। सो इसलिए इट्स रियली इम्पोर्टेंट टू फाइंड अ फंक्शनल मेडिकल प्रैक्टिशनर। अगर आपको कोई मसला है, आपका बच्चे को बीमार है, वो फंक्शनल मेडिसिन, इंटीग्रेटिव मेडिसिन, होलिस्टिक मेडिसिन प्रैक्टिशनर को ढूंढ के वो फिर सही तरह से आपको समझाएंगे दैट ये बच्चा आपका क्यों बीमार है और कैसे हम बेहतर कर सकते हैं to help heal. Could we go ahead and take some questions, right?
Absolutely.
Let's go ahead and take some questions. We have lots of great questions here. Thank you again, Dr. Sheila. This is the first time I've done like a bilingual one. So this is
seem like you're
I'm so glad. So thank you so much for your patience. But I feel like your message is so important to get out to the world because unfortunately, and this is what I'm going to attest to, there's a lot of books written for adults. Lots of books. There's very limited, almost like just I could probably count them on my hands, how many books are written for children. So you have literally done a huge service for the world, being a pediatrician and giving parents hope. Because I feel like that when your child has severe eczema or severe asthma or allergies, we're like, oh, sorry, they're going to have to sort of stick with this the rest of their lives. Maybe they'll outgrow it. But really, that's the only hope that you're going to get. But you've given parents so much hope. So I can't thank you enough for the work that you're doing. And that's what I wanted to do this, so we can influence not just people in the United States, I wanted to give people hope all over the world, because I know our channels reach people all over the world. So thank you again for all the work you're doing.
Oh my gosh, you're absolutely. This is we are in this together.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead. So let's go through some of these questions. Here's one. Here. My question is about my daughter, age 9, having nose swelling whenever she drinks milk. It just started to build since last 1 year. I have tried stop dating and she did get better, but I'm afraid it's her growing age and she couldn't take milk. How would it affect her growth? And this is a really common misconception. Can you please shed light on this?
Absolutely. And I have an entire chapter on milk. And we've got this conception that kids cannot grow, they won't have healthy bones, and they're going to have troubles if they don't have dairy. And what I did is I went back and I looked at all the research, because if I'm going to suggest that kids don't have milk, I needed to be very certain that we're going to have healthy brains and healthy bones and everything. And so where does this message come from that we have to have milk to be healthy? And it's really comes from the Dairy Council, and at least in the US and in many other countries. Or not the Dairy Council, but the dairy advertisers. And what the studies show, in fact, is that the opposite can be true often, is that dairy, let me say this. We need 4 things for healthy bones. And we need adequate amounts of calcium, yes, but we also need several other minerals. And we can get calcium from a lot of other foods. I have a huge list of foods high in calcium in the appendix of the book. The second thing we need, is exercise. And that's actually the primary, that is the most important thing we need to build healthy bones. And the third thing we need is adequate amounts of vitamin D. So we really want to be cognizant of we need 15 to 30 minutes of sun per day, at least. If your skin is a little bit darker, you need more time. And if your skin is covered from the sun, you absolutely need to be taking a vitamin D supplement, because that our body's natural way is to get it through the sun or through cold water fish. So if you're not eating things like sardines and mackerel and salmon, then we need to get that. And then the fourth thing is vitamin K. And vitamin K is what we get through green leafy vegetables. So some of you who have been researching and reading about vitamin D supplements, you'll see that a lot of them now are vitamin D3 plus K2. And so that's the first thing. The second avenue of this is that the fat. So the fat and the protein that we get from milk. And from the time babies are 0 till 18 months of age, their myelin sheaths are being produced. So that is this fatty layer that it's like insulation along the nervous system. And we need fat in order to make this myelin sheath. And that's one of the reasons that the American Academy of Pediatrics states that we should have whole milk until babies are about 2 years of age. There are many ways that we can get that good fat, and we get it through avocado. We can get it through coconut oil. We can get it through meats. We get it through fish, like cold water, sockeye salmon. We get it through chia seed, flaxseed, hemp seed. So there are many. We get it through eggs, egg yolk, that wonderful, wonderful egg yolk. Again, if your kids tolerate eggs. So, and we also, when it comes to dairy products, there's something called ghee. And what ghee is it's clarified butter, right? So you take butter and you heat it up, and the fat separates from the protein, and we just have the fat left. The proteins are the part of the milk, the casein, that is so inflaming to our system. And if we can just get the fat without the protein, that's another really great way that we're going to ensure that our kids are getting the proper fat that we need for brain development.
Wow. So डॉक्टर शीला बोल रही है, डॉक्टर किलबेन बोल रही है, is that बच्चों को दूध नहीं चाहिए सेहत के लिए। ये सारे दूसरे तरीके हैं, मतलब सेहत को, बच्चों को फैट की ज़रूरत है, बच्चों को विटामिन के की ज़रूरत है, विटामिन डी की ज़रूरत है। सो ये सारी चीज़ें की ज़रूरत है, बट देन दूध में नहीं है, बिकॉज़ दूध में शायद आपके बच्चे को तकलीफ ज़्यादा पहुँचाए। सो बेहतर है बंदा दूध कम करे और ये दूसरी सारी खाने पीने वाली चीज़ों को ज़्यादा ज़ोर दे और अच्छा खाना पे ज़्यादा ज़ोर दे। Wow, Dr. Sheila, that was amazing. I know I'm like almost that 1 hour, and I know there's lots more questions. So if you
Oh my
don't
gosh.
have time, you have
Wow.
so many questions. I know. Thank you. That's so sweet. Thank you. Awesome, awesome, awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you again. And then please let us know one where we can find you and learn more about your work and get the book.
Yes. So the
Because you
book,
have some free gifts, right? Like if we get
absolutely. So SheilaKilbane.com is my website, and there's SheilaKilbane.com/book, and you'll see the book. And if you go anywhere on the website, you'll see a little link to buy the book. It's at Amazon, it's at Target, it's anywhere that you buy books, you can get it. And then you put your name in right on that page, and we'll send you the free gifts and the bonuses. And the and we'll have an online course that will be ready in about another month, and it will be a nice companion for the book. And then we have a closed Facebook group. It's called Dr. Kilbane's Healthy Kids, Happy Moms Book Club. And that's what I always wanted. So, because what I encourage you to do is get some of your friends, you each get the book together and then read a chapter at a time, and maybe do it once a week, once a month. Probably once a month is more reasonable for moms. And you do it and then talk through it together, because as you start to change this, like pulling dairy out of your diet, if this is a completely new concept, is scary, and it's not easy, and you need that support, because your grandparents will say, what are you doing? Your husband will say, what are you doing? And you need the other moms, because when you take dairy out, the nasal congestion improves. You put dairy back in, the nasal congestion returns. That's a big, that's some pretty big proof. And do that with your relatives and show them what's happening, and then have them read that chapter of the book so that they understand that.
Wow. So powerful. Can we see the book one more time?
Oh, of course. Yes.
Yes, that's so beautiful. And the inside's all colored too.
Yes, we have everything, lots of really great images. And
wow, which you normally don't see in books.
No.
You don't see color. So this is if you're gonna buy any book, this is the book to buy.
Oh, you are so sweet.
Yes, because look at that. I mean, this is like a companion throughout life, because we got to raise healthy children. And so how are we supposed to raise healthy children if we don't even know we don't have that guidance, we don't have that education. So thank you, Dr. Sheila, for being that support system for moms out there, for helping giving us the education and empowering us with this Facebook group and the courses, and guiding us to create a healthier generation. Well, thank you guys. Thank you, Dr. Sheila, for joining me today. I'm incredibly honored.
Thank you all for joining us. And we were going to do breathing, but we'll do it next time.
Next time. We just got so into like rapid fire questions. It's gotten so good. Next time, we're going to do another breathing session. Me and you are planning, we're going to be planning more talks together.
We love
it. I love it. Awesome, you guys. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Please get Dr. Sheila's book. We need it for a healthier future, healthier generation. Our kids are getting sicker. This is that first tool that we need to first step towards a healthier generation, healthier future. And I have the link in the comments. And I also have the link in the description box above. And then remember to go to Dr. Sheila's website. If you purchase the book right now, I think it's going to come out September 14th, just
tomorrow.
I'm so excited for you. So it's coming out tomorrow. If you pre-order it now, You get all of these amazing free gifts. This is the must buy book. I can't wait to get mine.
Yay.
So thank you guys, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Sheila.
Thank you. Bye-bye.